right? So we read out the stories in our literature readers, in our books, and whatever else. But believe you me, the scope of storytelling is far, 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 far wider than that. Okay, now let me tell you, there was this physicist, okay, a very famous one at that. He had got huge recognitions in the world of science. One day, when he was no more, his children were being interviewed by the BBC. Yes? And the children were grown up now, and neither of them were in the field of science. One was an engineer, and the other was a writer, perhaps. And when they were asked, why didn't they pursue their father's field? They said, well, his shoes were too big for either of us to fit into. And they were then asked, what is the one thing that you remember about your father? And that is when the boy said, my father was a great storyteller. He was an amazing storyteller. Now, think of this man who was such a great achiever, but his children remember him as a great storyteller. And then they were asked, would you like to share a story that you remember from the ones your dad told you? So this is the story that this boy said. And I would like you to listen very carefully to the story, and then we'll see what happens. This is the story of thin, hair-like creatures, who lived in a dark, moist tunnel. And when the air passed through the tunnel, these hair-like creatures moved this way and that, and this way and that. And their only job was to keep watch at the entrance of the tunnel and make absolutely sure that nothing that had no permission to go into the tunnel was able to enter. And if something that didn't have the permission to enter tried to enter, then they would trap that thing. Right? Now, please get ready to type. The question here is, what do you think he was telling his children about? What do you think he was telling his children about? Just key in whatever you think it is on chat, and I will request somebody to read out some for me.
The first response that has come in is nose. Then there are about germs.
Okay, who's this person? Who's this person?
Nose. Okay.
No, nose, yes, but who sent that response?
Suma Jay Chandan ma'am says nose, and Shweta Madan ma'am says about germs.
About jobs.
Germs. Okay, then Pilali Kaushik ma'am, I think most of them are saying nose and nostrils, ma'am.
All right, so we have an absolutely brilliant lot of people here. Yes, he was telling them about the inside of the nose. The dark, damp tunnel is inside the nostril. And the hair-like things that you have inside the nostril. And what is their job? Their job is to stop anything that should not enter your breathing space by trapping it. Wonderful. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please give yourselves a pat on the hand, a big hand, whatever it is. A pat on the back, sorry. Yeah, or a big hand, whatever it is. But yes, so you see, anything, just about anything can be explained by a story. Yes, just like I said, when I said Good Samaritan, the first thing, everybody understood it. Yes, why? It was because of the story of the Good Samaritan. And it's not a story that you read this morning or you heard yesterday. You know, fossils like me heard it years and years and years ago. But I still remember. So what is the moral of the story? The moral of the story is a good story, well told, is never, ever lost. The story itself is not lost. Not only that, it doesn't stop there. The learnings from that story are integrated in you. They become a part of your understanding of everything that is around you. Yes? Right. So, as teachers, I think all of us are great storytellers, because unless we tell a story about what we are teaching, the children do not enjoy it, they do not become part of it, and at the end of it, they don't own it. So learning remains a question mark. Right? Now, I want to ask people that how do you decide what stories to tell children? How do you choose a story for children in the primary age group? Okay. Are we getting some answers on chat?
Ma'am, in just a couple of minutes, according to content, so there's the first response.
Okay,
based on morals, topic, depending upon the concept I want to teach. The story should be creative. The story should have morals. It should be value oriented. It should be the theme of the month, according to interest, value based, message giving stories, situations, curiosity of children, according to the situations, again, according to their interest. So basically, interest, concept, yes, morals, curiosity.
Wonderful. So I will pay $1 million for that one, which says stories which interest children.
Right. And they're coming, ma'am, inquisitive. They're also saying that interest children, that make children inquisitive, curious.
Yeah. So it is very important that the story is interesting for children. Now, here, some teachers said right in the beginning a very, very valid point. They said, as per the content, if the book has a certain story, it has to be told, right? It has to be told. Now, if it has to be told, it has to be told, because, you know, we cannot really do anything about that. So what do we do as teachers? We can think about how to tell it. You know, there is one story which is very popular, yeah? The Thirsty Crow, yes? And you'll see it in quite a lot of books. Now I personally have a problem with the title Thirsty Crow. I'll tell you why. That I'll tell you right at the end. Okay. But Suppose I had to tell the story of Thirsty Crow, which I personally am not very, it is a part of the prescribed book, right? Then what do? I try to work around it and make it as exciting as it is, first for me and then for the children. See, unless I truly enjoy something that I am doing, my involvement is a question mark, right? So, shall I tell you the story of the Thirsty Crow? Yes? Yes? Now, one of the things that storytelling does is it definitely helps in language development. Okay, so before I go to the story, I just remembered. I wanted to ask you people, how many of you actually need to translate or use translation in the class? And how effective do you think it is? Yes?
Ma'am,
Are we
responses
getting
are
some?
coming in.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
They're saying it's very effective, so no translation required. Some is saying that I do. They say yes. Some are saying we go through actions. Translation is
Oh,
required. We do animated actions. We use Hindi. Okay, so there's a Hindi teacher there. So they're saying translation is required. Some say we go with actions and gestures. Actions and gesture flashcards.
yeah. Let us just first
Voice
concentrate on
modulations.
the
Puppets.
first question. Most of you feel that translation is required, right? Now, for a minute, I want you to consider, uh, does anyone know Chinese in this crowd? I hope not. All right. So I'm just presuming that no one knows Chinese in this crowd. Okay. Now, suppose I show you a Chinese movie, but before I show you the Chinese movie, I know that most of you do not understand Chinese, right? So what I have done is I've put in subtitles, right? English subtitles, because everybody knows English. So all of you are going to enjoy the movie, right? Everybody's going to have fun watching the movie, even though the movie is in Chinese, thanks to the translation, the subtitles, yes? Now, after having enjoyed that movie, if I ask you, can anyone give me just two Chinese words, which is not the title of the movie, okay? Two Chinese words that you heard in the course of the movie, I can guarantee you 75% of the people will not be able to give it to me. But everybody watched the movie, everybody paid attention, everybody enjoyed the movie. Then why is it that no one can give me those two words? The reason is because you are an intelligent human being. So you think before you do something. Now you thought that I do not know and understand Chinese. I don't, right? So what is the point in putting myself through absolute pain trying to figure out what these guys are saying on the screen when there is an alternative? And what is the alternative? The alternative is the subtitle, right? So what did you do? You said, okie dokie, and you locked your ears, which is the input device in your body when it comes to language learning. You locked this and you read the subtitles and you enjoyed the movie, right? So what happened? You enjoyed the movie, but you didn't hear. You did not hear the Chinese language that was being spoken on screen. As a result of which, you were unable to give me the two Chinese words. But you enjoyed the movie. It didn't stop you from enjoying the movie. It didn't stop you from understanding the movie, right? Now, it is very important to understand it is the same thing that children do when we translate. They know that this movie is going to have two shows. Yes, one show will be in English, which I find difficult and therefore uninteresting. So during the first show, I will be present because I bought the ticket. But I can always switch off my audio. Right? So there is no input. Because there is no input, the purpose of the exercise in the classroom, one of which is language learning, does not happen. So I have a request to everybody in this seminar that please try and avoid translation in your storytelling sessions. Why the storytelling? Even in class, please avoid translating, because that way half the children don't listen to the language, and you and I can only influence what is happening in the classroom, right? And many of us have children who come from environments where they probably hear very little or no English, which in this case is the target language, at all. But you and I do not have any influence over that environment, right? So we have to do the filling up, you know, as the child is in class, when the child is in class. So I am requesting you, please, please, please do not translate. Now, all of you gave me some amazing things that you do, yes, which can take the place of translation. Like you said, that you use voice modulation, you use pictures, you use
Flashcards.
gestures. Yes?
Ma'am, they use flashcards. They are saying puppets. So they are also getting puppets in the classroom. They're doing finger puppets. They're getting flashcards. They're getting pictures. And
Yeah.
all of that.
Wonderful. See, even when you get the puppets, the puppet is a puppet. You have to put life into that puppet, right? So suppose there is, okay, let me tell you a story. One story that, you know, I think everybody hears all the time. The Lion and the Mouse. Yeah, everybody knows that one. Okay, so we start and everyone tells it and will keep telling it for a long, long time to come. So let me tell you that one. Yeah. Once upon a time, there was a big lion, really, really, really big lion. And he lived in this jungle. One day, the lion was walking through the jungle. Now, he's the king of the jungle, right? So he has to make sure that everything in the jungle is working fine. Yes, and everybody in the jungle is happy. So the lion was walking through the jungle, and this was a huge jungle, all right? So he was walking and walking and walking, and then he got extremely tired. Yes? So he decided to take some rest. He sat down under this tall tree. Yes? And he started yawning. And very soon, he fell asleep. While he was sleeping, the lion started snoring. Now, a little mouse, a tiny little mouse. It was walking through the jungle. It was very happy. So it was singing, la 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 lee lee, loo la la lee lee, lee la 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 la. Suddenly, he stopped. Hmm? That's not a sound I've heard before. And he looked this side, and he looked that side. And then he looked near the tree. Oh, what a big lion that is. I have never seen such a big lion. I want to go close and look. Now he's sleeping. So the little mouse crept slowly. He crept and crept, and he went near the mouse, near the lion. And the lion snored. The mouse got scared, it ran back. Ooh, ooh. He makes such a loud noise. It scares me. But see, I also have whiskers. But the lion also has whiskers. Oh, what long whiskers he has. Not short ones like mine. I want to try. I want to go close and see once again. And so the mouse crept even more slowly this time. Slowly, slowly. And he went near the mouse, lion. And he looked at the lion and he said, oh my, this lion is so big. And his whiskers are so long. It's like so long. It's even longer than my tail. Let me try climbing his back. And the mouse crept, and he climbed onto the lion, and he crept really slowly. And as soon as he got near the lion's mane, the lion snored loudly. Now the mouse got so scared, it started shaking, and it fell right down the lion's nose. And now the lion had woken up, and he was holding the mouse between his paws. And the mouse was shivering. Mr. Lion, Mr. Lion, please, Mr. Lion, let me go. Let me go, please let me go. I will never climb your back again. Please, Mr. Lion, let me go. The lion looked at the mouse and he said, you naughty mouse, how dare you climb my back? Mr. Lion, don't get angry. I had never seen such a big lion before, and such long whiskers. So I just wanted to see. So I climbed up. I'm sorry, Mr. Lion. I'm sorry, Mr. Lion. So the lion said, so you woke me up just to see my whiskers, you silly mouse? So the mouse said, please, Mr. Lion, let me go, Mr. Lion. I will help you sometime. I promise you, I'll help you sometime. Now, when he heard this, the lion started laughing. You silly mouse, you will help me, the great lion? But remember, this time I let you go. Next time I won't. All right? Oh, okay, Mr. Lion. Thank you very much. You are very, very kind, he said. And the mouse went off. Many days passed after that. Okay? It was a beautiful summer day. Yes? There were flowers blooming everywhere, and the birds were singing. Yes? The sun was shining brightly. Yes? And the mouse was again walking through the jungle, eating a piece of fruit. And like every time, the mouse was singing. Lee la la loo loo, lee la la loo loo. What a lovely day! What a lovely day! Lee la la loo loo. Suddenly, he saw a big net. He went close to the net and he looked. And there inside the net was the big lion. And the lion was struggling. He was pushing this way and he was pushing that way, and he was pushing on top and he was pushing his head down, and he was trying to break free from the net. And then the mouse said to him, Mr. Lion, this is me. You remember me? That day you let me go? Huh? So today I will help you, Mr. Lion. You will help me? I have been trying to come out of this net for so long. I am such a strong lion, but I am not able to come out. I can't come out. Don't worry, the mouse said. I have very sharp teeth. Okay, they are like knives. I will cut that big fat net and set you free. And saying that, the mouse got to work. With his razor-shaped teeth, sharp teeth, he cut the net. And the lion was free. The lion looked at the mouse and he said, Thank you so much, little mouse. Thank you so much, little mouse, for saving my life. So the mouse laughed and he said, That's okay. You also helped me one day, no? And then he said, Now I must go home. So the lion said, Don't worry. You don't have to walk home. You don't have to crawl home. I will carry my friend on my back. Saying that, the lion bent down and the mouse hopped onto the lion's back, and the lion walked him through the jungle right up to his house. When they reached the rat's house, then the rat got off the lion's back and he said, Thank you, Mr. Lion, for bringing me home. The lion lifted his paw and patted the mouse, very gently. And he said, that's what friends are for. Okay, now the story has been told. Yes. Now I want to ask you, what do you normally do after telling the story?
As
After
teachers are, yeah, ma'am, please carry on.
Yeah. So after a story is told, what do we do?
So, ma'am, they're saying we do a recap, we ask questions, we ask questions.
Can you please request them if this is the story? Now, this is a very common story, and I'm sure most teachers would have told this story. Now, uh, what kind of questions happen? A, and I found a lot of people talking about, the moral of the story.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So how do you handle that?
Okay. So, dear teachers, please be specific what kind of questions you ask and how do you actually reach to the moral of the story? How do you, like, I'm not putting in the words in their mouth, so I'll just close it at that. How do you reach the moral? Yeah. But then let me tell you, ma'am, as the responses are coming in for this question, while you were narrating the story, everybody has flooded the chat box with a lot of appreciation for you. They're saying that it seemed like we're hearing the story for the first time. Your narration, voice modulation, actions are just superb. They're going to now use this as a tool in their virtual classes and face-to-face classes post the session.
I have to say something here.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
know, one thing that is very, very important is when you tell a story you thoroughly enjoy. Believe me, it just happens.
Okay.
And
Yes.
really, I remember once, I am terrible at makeup and all of this. And someone once told me, why don't you put some makeup, and, even gave me some tips that I should follow this and I should follow that. And I followed every rule in the book. And when I looked at myself in the mirror, I saw a living ghost. So what is very important is make that story your own. It is your story. You own it. Now you shape it. That lion is your lion. That mouse is your mouse. Right? So it is yours, and you can do an amazing job so long as you're not aspiring to be somebody else.
That's right, ma'am.
It has
So, ma'am,
to be yours. Like, I love Sushmita Sen, and I would love to look like her and, talk like her. If I try, you know what is going to happen. Right? I can already hear the laughter.
no, not at all, ma'am.
The one very important thing is each and every one of us has it in us. We just have to be ourselves and have the confidence for being ourselves and take pride in being ourselves. Right?
That's right,
Okay.
ma'am. Okay,
Coming
the
back to
questions, ma'am, they're saying that we ask open-ended questions. We ask them if they were the mouse or the lion, what would they do? Then they ask about how many characters are there in the story and who was the king of the jungle, what did the mouse do? Like situational questions also are there. Then there are character-based questions. Then they try to link it to the things around. So are they helping their friends or are they annoying people around? Will they try to exchange position with any of the character in the story? And they also ask children to make the sound of the animals. They want them to do play acting. So these are the gist of the questions
That's a
that.
whole lot of amazing activities. Okay. And now what I am very interested to understand is, why did we tell the story in the first place? Yes, one very valid reason, like somebody said in the beginning, it's a part of our syllabus. So I told the story. Now, what we need to start thinking is, how does this story lend itself to everything that I do in the class? Right? Now, we are talking about a lion that lives in the jungle. Yes, can we not bring this story and connect it when I am doing wild animals in my EVS? Yes, can we not bring this whole, like you said, you do the sounds of the animals. Yes, you do the homes of the animals. Yes, you do the homes, you do the sounds. So you see, it is not just the story by itself. What really helps is when when you make a web diagram, you write the story in the center and then you make the questions. One is, yes, textual questions like, who was the king of the jungle and who did you help? Now, one thing that we do as teachers is we tell them the moral of the story, right? The moral of the story is we must help our friends. Yes, are you okay with that? We normally tell the children the moral of the story. Yes. Now, let me ask you one thing. All of us have, I'm sure 99% of us have had this experience. See, suppose, let's say dad is at home, okay, and there is a call, and you pick up the call, and dad asks, who's that? So you say so and so. So dad shows, right? Daddy is not at home. So you give that answer to the person on the phone and you say, Daddy said daddy's not at home and daddy is very upset with you. It's a little like that when we tell them the moral of the story, because the moral of the story is often more difficult for the child to understand than the story itself. Right? So it makes sense to get the moral from them through clever questioning. Right? So what if you were to ask them some questions and get the moral from the children? And there is I have a big problem with the word moral, because I kind of don't find a definition of morality that I quite agree with. I would rather call them values. Yes. So, yes. Can we have some? Oh, this is really beautiful. I'm really enjoying the interaction. Can we have some stuff?
Yes, so they're saying that storytelling is an interdisciplinary activity. We connect it with other subjects. It helps in confidence building, coping up with feelings, language, and learning. Okay, so there are teachers who are saying that we talk about the ethical values. Instead of calling it morals, we talk about values, the ethics that it is teaching us. We're talking about emotions.
My question is, how do we do it? Do we tell them what it is?
No, ma'am. So some of them have written that we ask them indirect questions. So they're writing we ask them.
Can I have some indirect questions for this particular story?
So the first response that was initially given, it said that we asked them that, do you help your friends? And if you are bigger in size and your friend is small, how do you react with them? So do you still give them importance or do you just nudge them away? Then they ask them, what did they learn from the story? Then they ask them how any good deed that they have done to help others. They do a previous knowledge testing. They talk about empathy.
Okay. Now, here I will tell you something. When you said, what did you learn from the story? Or there was something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn from the story?
Absolutely.
Or what does the story teach you?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, let me tell you, once a little girl was asked, and she was supposed to be, as according to the class teacher, a very quote unquote smart kid. Now, they were told the story of the thirsty crow. Yes. And, we always get children to retell the story. Yes. So they were asked to retell the story, and she said, and, we normally grade them on that. So the child said, once upon a time, there was a crow, and the crow was not thirsty. Now the teacher was appalled because this was one of her brighter children. So she said, no, 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 no. You just think, no, what happened? So the child stuck to a story and she said, once upon a time, there was a crow and it was not thirsty. Now, when the teacher kept requesting her, she said, no, ma'am, that day the crow was not thirsty. Okay, this can happen in any one of your classes, right? Now, how do you handle a situation like that? What do? You grade their ability to retell the story, right? So what do you do? What would you do if a child told you something like this? See, it's a very logical answer. Samriddhi,
I would let her tell her story. So people are saying that they will appreciate the answer that the child has given. They will let her create another story, add on to it. They will talk about.
How would you ask her how would you ask her to add on to it or create another story? She is fixed on this. That there was a crow, but that day it was not thirsty.
So
and you grade her, which is, I think, anyway, let's not worry about what I think. Yeah. So you have to give her a grade, yes, based on her ability to retell a story. Now, the answer is a very smart answer, because when you told her again, she stuck to a story and said, that day it was not thirsty. Yes.
So now they're saying, what if he feels thirsty at night?
Okay. What if he feels thirsty at night?
They say that, okay, today the crow is not thirsty, but what happens if he's thirsty tomorrow or the day after?
Brilliant. See, I won't take tomorrow, day after, or anything. Okay. I would probably tell that child, you know what, that day it was not thirsty, but do you remember? Because I want that stupid story. Right? So, do you remember what it did when it was thirsty? You know, and suppose the child tells you the story like this. Once upon a time,
your voice is breaking.
There was a crow, and once upon a crow, the crow very, he's doing all kinds of things. Okay, normally, the teacher, you think, like you, since you brought in ethics, you think it's ethical for the teacher to help the child at this point in time with that word?
Ma'am, actually, your voice was breaking in the last couple of minutes. So could you just repeat the way you were narrating that story from the child's point?
Okay, let's just say the child is now telling you the story. Okay, so he says, once upon a time, there was a crow. Okay, and the crow was very, he's struggling very hard to find the word. Okay, he has a problem with the language. Okay, he's struggling very hard to find that word, but you know that he knows the story. Do you think it's ethical for us as teachers to help? Yes? Some answers, please. I'm so sorry, Samriddhi. I'm troubling you a lot today.
No, not at all, ma'am. Not at all. There's one answer that has come that they will say that they will do a buddy up. They'll make him sit with a friend and ask him to recall the word or the story, help each other. Okay, the teacher say maybe he was thirsty. So like a question she would ask. So maybe the crow was thirsty. Prompt the child. What did the crow experience? Now they're saying, what did the crow experience? They'll try the child to elaborate. What is he feeling?
Okay, now what I'm asking you, I want you to just Really think about this. Why are we asking him to recall the story? What is the purpose of that exercise? Are we testing his memory or are we testing his comprehension and his ability to retell? That is a big question that we should all ask ourselves. See, the child, you know very well that the child is just struggling with the word, but he knows the story. So, is it really earth shatteringly unethical if I tell that child, um, okay, so you think he was very yeah, he wanted to drink? The child may remember the word. There is no there is no point in sitting stoically and putting him through more trouble when you know that he is already helpless. He just cannot remember that word.
So, both
Yes?
responses coming in, majority of the responses are on the side of memory and a couple of them on comprehension also.
Okay. Now, good. I mean, if you have that clarity, okay, I am asking the child to retell the story because I want to test his memory. Yes, his rote memory. Then, by all means, but if we are looking at storytelling as a tool for language development, it might be more useful to help the child's ability to understand and then use the language to say it in his own way. See, it does not really matter like whether the child says it exactly how he has read it in the book. Once I know children have told stories like this to me. Once upon a time, there was a crow. The crow was very thirsty. He wanted to drink water. Here comes the action. Okay. Uh, he looked here, he looked there. You know what? At the end of that activity, you feel that the poor child could have been talking about two dogs lost in a Chinese countryside because the child has absolutely no understanding. He is just repeating without any understanding what he has heard or he has probably learnt by heart, which is not what we as teachers want uh, to use storytelling as a tool for. It is to help the child be able to understand the language, like you wonderfully said at the beginning, that you use voice modulation, you use, different tools and tricks to tell the story. All of that stands defeated if we only focus on the memory, right? Memory is important. It is important and it will happen. Now, I want to ask you something. Uh, Suppose I asked you, um, okay, I'll read out a list of things. Okay, please listen very carefully because I will read that list only once. All right, I will read that list only once. Please listen very carefully and then I'll tell you what to do next. All right. Okay, a list of 10 things. Okay. Doll, story. One request, people, please don't write. Please do not write. Okay. So doll, story, aeroplane, cat, book, umbrella, kangaroo, bottle, cake, music, and lollipop. Okay? Yes? But just because you people are so amazingly intelligent and we are having such a wonderful time and there is so much interaction. I'll read the list out just once more. Okay? Yes? Just once more. Doll, story, aeroplane, cat, book, umbrella, kangaroo, bottle, cake, music, and lollipop. All right? Now, very quickly, put on chat, how many people remember all the 10? Please, order doesn't matter, but write very quickly the number of words you remember. Samriddhi, is there anyone who remembers all 10?
Ma'am, responses are coming in a little slowly because there are 10 words, so they're typing it. It will take time. So, okay. So, yes, Shweta Madan ma'am has written. So, she remembers doll, story, aeroplane. Yeah, she remembers it.
She remembers
Okay.
doll, she remembers story, and she remembers?
Just a second. Her response just went up because now the responses are flooding in. Okay, so doll, story, cat, book, music, cake, kangaroo. Okay, not the order, right? So kangaroo, umbrella,
Order doesn't matter.
lollipop, bottle, book. So all 10. Sumanpreet ma'am also. Sahila ma'am or Sahil also. Then there is...
Acha, all right.
Many of them.
Maybe
Many of them.
typing now because this is the more interesting part of the whole activity. Right. Thank you so much for taking the trouble to type it all out and everything and send in your responses. Right. Now, if you actually look at your own response and you see, you will find the first words that you have written are things that interest you, things that you like, or in some way they matter to you. If you look at it very carefully, you will see that. Now that tells you a story in itself. And what is that story? That story is we remember things that matter to us. We remember things that strike a chord with us. We remember things that make a difference to us. So if you tell the story to the children in a way that makes a difference to them, then they remember. I'm sure everybody knows the story of the little red hen. Yes, I'll just tell it to you I'll just give you the kind of summary. And then I'll tell you an experience that I've had with that particular story. See, it is the story of a mother hen with hungry chicks. And the chicks are very hungry and they want to eat bread. Now, getting bread those days was not as easy as just walking down to the store next door. Yeah, and thanks to Corona, now you don't have to walk down to the store also. You just have to call and ask for somebody to send you a loaf of bread. Mother hen had to actually bake the bread. So she went into the kitchen and she looked. Oh, there was no flour. So she had to carry the wheat to the mill where they made it into flour. So she was carrying that heavy sack of flour, and as she left the house, she saw her friend the cat. And the cat said, "Hey, Mother Hen." And Mother Hen said, "Hi, cat. Look at this sack. It is so heavy. Will you please help me take it to the mill?" "Oh, no, I'm playing now. I don't have time. Carry it yourself." Then she meets a friend, the dog, who says the same thing. Then she meets another friend, an animal friend, who says the same thing again. So poor Mother Hen carries that heavy sack to the mill. gets the flour, wheat made into flour, and she carries it back to the house. Okay. And then she starts baking bread. When the bread is in the oven, the whole house is smelling of freshly baked bread. And all her friends, the cat, the dog, and the other guy, they were all playing outside. They also got the smell of fresh bread. Yeah, so they all came to Mother Hen's house and they said, "Oh, that smells like fresh bread." And Mother Hen says, "Yes, you're right. It's fresh bread that I have baked for my children." Okay. Now, these animals, the cat, the dog, and whatever the third animal was, I don't remember. Were they good friends? You know what the children had said? They said, "No, no helping, miss. No helping, miss." See, the language is incorrect, but they have understood the story. And as a teacher, I think that is what is most important. That is what is most important. Don't, telling a child, "A friend in need is a friend indeed." Yeah? And children repeat that. After they've told you the story, then they tell you, the moral of the story is, a friend in need is a friend indeed. Yes, that's a good thought. But does the sayer even understand that thought? We are looking at stories as a tool for developing values, right? So, another request, please do not tell the children the moral of the story. Try and get the moral from them by asking the kind of questions, you guys ask some very, very smart questions. We have to allow them to express themselves in whatever way they can. They may not say it in correct English. They may not say it, in a complete sentence. But so long as they say what is meaningful, we know that the storytelling has been successful. There is absolutely no need for us to make them learn the moral of the story by heart, because when they learn it by heart without understanding it, and how difficult is it to explain to a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old, that friends in need, what is need? A friend in need is a friend indeed. How difficult is it? But when the child tells me, not good friends, why? Because they know helping. I think we should be very happy that our story was understood by the children and it was very, 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 very well received by them. The purpose of the exercise is done, right? So it is the same when we do rhymes, which sometimes are part of our stories, right? So shall I tell you a story which is part singing and part story? Okay. Yes. Music is an integral part of storytelling. So try, and children respond to music very, very naturally. Not just children, human beings. Yes. Okay. So are you ready for the story?
Yes, ma'am. We're getting responses. They're all ears, they're saying.
Okay. There was a little zebra who lived in the woods. She wore her coat of stripes, as every zebra should. She took them off each night, and she wore them all day long. And little Zelda Zebra would sing this happy song. Now, wherever you are, Please sing with me. Yes? Yes? I know you will. Yipes, yipes, I love my pretty stripes. 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 One morning she got up and she looked so bright and gay. She smiled and she said, "Oh, what a lovely day." She went to get her stripes as she got up with the morn. She looked and she looked, but all her stripes were gone. Now, Zelda was very, very sad. She couldn't find her stripes. But she said, "Let me look some more." And she went and she looked. No, no, she just couldn't find her stripes. So she started to cry. "Yikes, yikes, I've lost my pretty stripes. Yikes, yikes, I've lost my pretty stripes." Now, Leon the lion, he's the king of the jungle and he's a good king. So he makes sure that everybody in the jungle is happy and everything is working all right. So every day, early in the morning, he takes a walk around the jungle. Now, as he came close to Zelda's house, he heard crying sounds. He stopped to listen. That sounds like Zelda. Why is she crying? Why is she crying now? I must find out. So he walked up to Zelda's door and he knocked. Nothing happened. So he knocked again, a little louder this time. Then he heard Zelda's voice. "Who is that now?" "Zelda, this is Leon the lion. Come and open the door. You seem very upset." "Wait a minute, Leon. I am coming," said Zelda. And then she went up to the door and she opened the door. Leon looked at Zelda. "Zelda, what happened to your coat?" "Oh, Leon, I lost my coat. I lost my coat." "No, Zelda. No, I'm sure your coat is right here. We will find it." "No, Leon, I looked everywhere. Every night I take it off and I fold it nicely and I keep it in the cupboard. Today it is just not there." "All right, maybe you left it near the TV, right? Shall we check that?" So they went and they checked. They checked near the TV. They checked on the bed. They checked everywhere in the house. But Zelda's coat was not to be found. So Leon said, "All right, Zelda, come along with me. We will walk through the jungle and see if we can find your coat. All right?" So together, Leon and Zelda walked through the jungle. As they were passing a tall tree, they heard a sound. "I'm funny. Leon stopped there. They looked up. And who was sitting there? Mandy the monkey. Leon was very angry. He said, Mandy, come right down. Come down this minute. And Mandy came running down. Mandy, why are you laughing? No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I laughed. But Zelda looks different without her coat. Yes. And do you know how sad she is? She has lost her coat. And I'm helping her find her coat. We're going through the jungle trying to find her coat. I'm sorry, Zelda, but can I also come? Because I can climb up the trees and I can look far away. Maybe I will find your coat. So Leon said, all right, come along. So Leon, Zelda, and Mandy walked through the jungle looking for Zelda's coat. As they were passing the cave of Tommy the tiger, they heard lots of music and singing. Leon stopped. What is Tommy so happy about, he thought. And he went close to the tiger's cave and looked inside. Just a minute, something has gone wrong.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, yeah. So, and what did they see? They saw Tommy was looking very different. Tigers have yellow coats with black stripes, right? And Tommy was wearing a white coat with black stripes. And he was singing, yoips, yoips, I've got the zebra stripes. Yoips, yoips, I've got the zebra stripes. Ha, 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 I've got the zebra stripes. So now Leon went to Tommy's cave and he knocked. Tommy! Tommy came and opened the door. Oh, Leon? Why have you taken Zelda's stripes? Can you see how sad you have made her? I'm sorry, but actually my coat has become so old and faded, and her coat was bright and shiny. So I just thought I'll borrow it for a while. I'll give it back, I thought, but should you have taken the coat without asking, Zelda? No, I'm sorry, Zelda. I'm really sorry. I made you sad. Here, take back your coat. I'll wear mine. And he put on his coat. By then, all the animals had come. Yes, all the animals in the jungle had come to the tiger's cave. And Zelda put on her coat and she was extremely happy. So, Zelda always sings when she's happy. But this time around, all the animals in the jungle joined her in their singing. Okay? And what did they sing? Yipes, yipes, we love the zebra stripes. Yipes, yipes, we love the zebra stripes. End of story. Right. So, yes, I think what I will do right now, because this is such a vast and interesting topic, and we have such amazing participants, I would like to ask Samriddhi if we can now take questions if people do have them.
Sure, ma'am. Definitely. So, dear teachers, all the educators who joined us, I would request you to please send in your questions through chat, and I will read them up as they come along. So, but before we move on to that, ma'am, again, let me reiterate the fact, because teachers have been appreciating your voice modulation, the way you are doing it. They're saying that you transported us like you are no less than any of the animated movie stars and the production companies who are creating it. So you could give a run for a money to all the Disneys and the Pixars and the short filmmakers of the world.
Thank you so
So
much. It gives me a career option.
yeah, they're asking if you have a YouTube channel or can they meet you on weekly basis. I think this is just an extension of all the experiences that we've had with the children, ma'am. Children can't get enough of you. Now we have the teachers who want to stay connected. So that's the charm that you said. That's your aura, ma'am. Okay, so teachers, please send in your questions. And as you send in your questions, dear teachers, I'm also sharing my screen for the QR code for the feedback. So we would also request you, alongside, if you're typing in your questions, please scan the QR code and fill in the feedback form, because it will help us to get your feedback on the session and also your details to release the certificates of participation. Okay, so I'm just sharing my screen with you. In the meanwhile, please send in your questions and I'll read them one by one. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so I think teachers are enthralled with your viewpoint that hardly do I see any question. There's still one question which says that if children do not understand a particular word in English, what do I need to do?
See, that is what I'm saying. You don't have to say that word which is in the book. You can use a simpler word. Let us, for instance, can she quickly give me an example of a word so that it's easier for me to illustrate it?
Okay, so dear teacher who's written down that how we can use that, can you give us an example? Because that
Okay,
will help.
let me just
And also
arbitrarily take one.
there is also a feedback link that I have pasted in the chat box. So please use that feedback link to send us your feedback. Ma'am, I think she's typing in. In the meanwhile, let me check other questions that have come up.
Okay, to answer her question, suppose there is a word like humongous. Okay, and the line says Moby Dick was a humongous whale. Okay, now I know that my children will not understand humongous, right? So I say Moby Dick was a really big, huge, humongous whale, because every child is born with the gift of learning by association. So the child understands very big, he understands huge, and in that same flow, you are using the word humongous. Therefore, he understands humongous.
Okay, wonderful. Ma'am, on that note, there's another question. What can we do to enhance vocabulary of children? What will we do?
Okay, let me tell you something very exciting about vocabulary. Okay, vocabulary is only worth it if the child is able to use that vocabulary. Okay, there is no point, it is like, I think there are 90% of us here are women. So I think we will relate better to this analogy. Indian women love jewelry. Yes, we love jewelry. So we, give eye teeth and buy our diamonds and our gold and whatever it is. And then what do we do with it? We are so scared that somebody is going to take it away. So we keep it in the locker. So having vocabulary that you cannot use is like that diamond and gold that you keep in your locker, and you go through life knowing it is there, but you don't use it. So it is completely useless. Okay. But having said that, if you want the child to develop good vocabulary, you've just got to use. You have to speak that kind of language with the child. When you are saying something, you have to say it like that. And you will find that the child understands the meaning because it is being used in context. Yes. And if he understands the meaning, then he will definitely use the word. Otherwise, it will only be excess baggage. So you want to develop vocabulary, please make sure that the children hear those words being used, read those words being used. Only then they will be able to use it themselves. Does that answer your question?
I think so, ma'am, because okay, the next is that children really struggle with the spelling part. So how do we cater to it?
So that's a real teacher talking. Now, spelling is essentially a visual skill. I'll give you the best example. See, nowadays, taking your toddler to the supermarket is a parent's worst nightmare. Because the fellow does not know ABCD also. Okay? And then he says, I want that Cadbury Boneville chocolate. You cannot take just any chocolate and give it to him and tell him, here, this is your Cadbury Boneville chocolate. He will tell you, no, this is not Boneville, and he will go and get the Boneville. And you are wondering, this fellow doesn't know ABCD, he can't read. How the hell does he know which is Boneville? Look and say. He watches television, and that's where they show the Boneville cartoon, and they say Boneville. That's how he reads. Yes? So he begins to sight read very, 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 very early. So even when you look at a word, next time if you look at a word consciously, you will see you don't see the word as the component letters. You see it as the entire word. Right? So you want the child to learn the spelling. You will have to do loads and loads of activity where the child has opportunity to see those words. And you remember how we all knew, no? We made a spelling mistake. So the teacher said, write it 5 times. You wrote it 5 times. 6th time, you wrote it wrong again. This is the reason. Because spelling is not a memory skill. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So, ma'am, dear teachers, I think there was an error with the QR code being shown because some of the teachers are sending me that they cannot see the QR code. So, my colleague here, Tahil, would be sharing his screen for the QR code. You simply have to scan the QR code and the feedback form will open on your mobile phones. And we continue with a couple of more questions. So, Sahil, could you please share your screen because I'm facing a little bit of juggling the chat box and the QR code screen sharing. That is slowing down my chat box. Ma'am, the next question is, the teachers are asking for younger students, basically for nursery, is it important to tell the meaning of the story first?
You know, if I have to tell you the meaning of the story, then telling the story is completely useless. Right? When I tell the story, you can understand. Right? So if I'm telling the story, like all of you said, you have so many visual aids that go with it. Right? You're using your voice, you're using your body, you're using gesture. All of this should help the child to understand. I'll give you a unique example, not really a story, but a horrible line. I hate that rhyme, but still I'll use it because it illustrates what I want to explain. All of you know that horrendous Johnny Johnny poem, right? Right. So how do the children learn that? Johnny, Johnny, yes, Papa, eating sugar, no, Papa. Yes? What if I said that poem like this? And I stood tall and I looked this way and I said, Johnny, Johnny. Immediately you put into perspective, there are 2 people. One is a big man and someone is smaller. And that little fellow's name is Johnny. It is self-explanatory. And the child, when he is replying, he looks up. So you know that he is looking up at the taller man and he says, yes, Papa. So when he says Papa, every child knows that relationship. Eating sugar. No, Papa. See, it's immediately clear. So when you are telling the story, Yes. And you said that right in the beginning, that you use a lot of gesture, voice modulation. All of that is supposed to explain the story to the child. The child is supposed to understand, to be able to understand the story on his own because of all these things that you are doing. Now, after doing all of this, if I have to tell the story again, what is there, yeah. Samriddhi, does that help? Samriddhi?
Okay, yes, ma'am. Absolutely, that answers. I'm facing a little bit of slow internet connection today. So the muting and unmuting is causing an issue. Okay,
I wonder.
the next question is, ma'am, um, the next one is that can they use the storytelling method for classes 6 to 8 also? And then in continuation to that is a second question which says, ma'am, how can we present like you? How can we overcome the hesitation? And how can we ensure that they can be great storytellers like you?
Everybody is a born storyteller, whether you like it or not. That's a title that you get by default. And every human being is nothing but a bundle of stories. Okay. And like I said, please, please, please do not try to be like someone else. Find that storyteller in you. Find your own storyteller. Yeah. Now coming to the 6 and 8 and 7, see, everything, every teacher, irrespective of the subject he teaches, irrespective of the level he teaches at, has to be an amazing storyteller. Suppose I tell the children, I tell them that, all right, you know what? There's this samosa, and Raju was eating a samosa. So he bit into the samosa. Come on, everybody, pretend to bite into the samosa. Yeah? You will, where did you bring you can see them in the classroom, you can see them, right? So you naturally don't bring your samosa to the side of your mouth to bite it. You bring the samosa to the front of your mouth to bite it. And you can tell them about the incisors. See? Just like you use scissors to bite into something or to cut it up. And then now I'm going to chew my samosa. Chew your samosa. Where did you take it to your mouth? You took it to the back of your mouth because that's where the molars are and that's what does all the grinding. If you tell them like a story, yes, then the structure of the teeth is nothing but a story. The journey of food is nothing but a story. The growth of a seed into a baby plant is nothing but a story. The French Revolution is nothing but a story. The development of humanity is nothing but a story. Yes, and great teachers are great storytellers. They have no choice in the matter. Yes, Samriddhi, does that answer the question?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Ma'am, there is one more question that has come up. So how can they include this in online classes? So any tips for the online classes?
See, online classes, you have to remember that, I also struggled a lot with online but then, the medium that you have to remember that a lot of it is one-way traffic. In the classroom, because you see the children and you get immediate response and you can respond to those reactions, okay, you have to kind of uh, remember that won't be 100% like it is in the classroom. So you'll have to kind of pre-consider certain things. Maybe children will have this doubt because you have worked with them for so long. You understand that age group. Yes. So it'll be easier for you to figure out. Maybe, when I'm talking about this, they might have this doubt. If you plan it out that way, then I think 75% of the times you will be on target.
Okay, perfect. And then, ma'am, finally, I'm just taking two more questions and then we close because we already reached the closure of the day. So, any tips for beginners? How can we do a storytelling, make it interactive and interesting for beginners and slow learners? Is the second part of it.
What is the second one?
Slow learners.
Oh my goodness. Now, see,
I know.
uh, I have a big problem with that word, slow learners. Okay. Now, I have to tell you a story now that you have told me slow learners. Okay. Um, See, once there was a man, okay, who was so fed up with, like, he wanted probably to be a great storyteller, and he thought he was not doing good enough. He had tried very hard, but he was not able to achieve what he wanted to. So he thought that there's no point in me living, right? So he went to the jungle to commit suicide. And when he went into the jungle, then he thought, okay, let me say my prayers one last time and thank God for everything that I have got in my life. So he sat down and he prayed, and God appeared. And he said, you know, my son, this entire jungle has been planted by me. I planted every tree in this jungle. I planted the fir and I planted the bamboo. I watered all of them. When I watered the fir and I watered the bamboo each day, I noticed that within a week, the fir had grown about a feet tall, but there was absolutely no change in the bamboo. But I didn't stop watering it. I kept watering it. Yes? And within 2 months, the fern was a tall tree and the bamboo had just started growing. But I didn't give up on the bamboo. I watered them equally. I gave them enough love and care, equal. And the fir was now a huge tree, and the bamboo was just a small little stub. But soon the bamboo showed signs of growth, and it started growing. And look at it today. So the man said, why didn't you give up on the bamboo? I mean, you tried so hard. He said, because I believe that everything in creation has potential. And when the fern was growing taller, the bamboo was just growing deep, 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 deep roots. So have faith in the children. See, just like no two children are alike, no two people are alike. And everybody does things at their own pace. So there are children who will probably take a little while longer than most of the children, perhaps. Yeah?
Perfect.
But if you continue to treat them as if they were just like everybody else, they will become like that. But don't give up hope, don't give up patience.
That's
Yes,
right.
Samriddhi, done?
Absolutely. I think that will be the close of the questions for today's session, ma'am. So, on behalf of the complete Ratnasagar fraternity and the teachers and the educators who've joined us and our complete team, I extend a big hearty thank you to you for such an amazing and enthralling session. And like I said in the beginning, the teachers are just saying the same thing. They're saying you're a production house in you altogether. So you require no props. You have complete A to Z of spinning a tale, and the tips and the tricks and the techniques that you have shared with them today are simply amazing. They are simply such great that they are going to start a new chapter with their kindergarten and pre-primary and primary teaching and chart a new course which will make their children remember things for longer time, enjoy more, ask more questions, and have a wonderful experience altogether. So if you can just have a look at the chat box, ma'am, the teachers are just writing in, and I'm so glad for all the teachers who joined us today, who stayed with us, and who made the session so interactive and interesting with their responses in the chat box. Because a spin a tale or any session is a two-way conversation. It is not a one-sided direction. So you were so actively participating in all the questions and the activities that ma'am was asking. I think that made the session all the more unique, all the more entertaining, and a simply an amazing experience. So thank you so much to all the teachers joining us from Punjab, Himachal, Jammu and Kashmir, and to ma'am for coming, like joining us live from Chennai down south. So thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks a lot for this amazing session. But you do not go yet, because I would now invite our sales head for the state, that is Punjab, HP and Jammu, Mr. Ashwini Sharma, to please come in and extend a vote of thanks to all the teachers who've joined us, because this session would not have been possible without your support, the hard work that your team did. So over to you, Ashwini, now.
Thank you, Samriddhi. Sometimes it's difficult to say thank you because there are no words to say thank you to a personality like Sangeeta ji. I'm speechless. I'll say one thing: if Sachin Tendulkar is the god of cricket, then Sangeeta ji is the god of storytelling. I'm sure everybody enjoyed this session. I mean, uncountable feedbacks. Everybody was so happy. I would also like to thank you all the participants who joined this session. The number was very, very exciting. We have crossed 800 participants in this session. I would like to thank you everybody, especially Sangeeta ji. Once again, such a lovely session. Thank you for making this evening a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much, Ashwini.
Thank you, Ashwini.
So, ma'am, final thoughts.
Samriddhi.
Yes, ma'am. Final thoughts from Sangeeta, ma'am, and then we close the day. So, Sangeeta, ma'am, final closing thoughts. Oh my God, your video just got dark. Yes, ma'am.
Every human being is nothing but a story. And as we go through life and with this kind of love and affection and support, we only make our stories richer. And, yeah, it just makes life worth living. Thank you so much for all the support, Ashwini and your team, and Samriddhi for hand-holding me into the digital world.
Always there, ma'am.
Thank
you so much, ma'am. And I'm going to close today's day with the thought that you shared in the session. So thank you so much for being there. Thank you so much for all the energy that you brought in consistently for 1.5 hours that we were together. So ma'am said that we remember the things that strike a chord with us, that connect with us. So my dear ma'am, let me tell you, every participant who joined us today, either on Zoom or through Facebook, is going to remember this session for a lifetime, because the chord that you have struck with them, the connectivity that you had with them, the connection that you have built is beyond words. It's about experience. And like Maya Angelou says, people will forget what you say. People will forget what you do, but they will never forget how you made them feel. But today, we're going to remember what you've said. We're going to remember what you told us, what you presented to us, and we would always, always remember how you made us feel. You made our day, you made our weekend special, and that's the closing thought for the day today. So thank you so much one more time. And as we say at Ratnasagar, dear educators, education is our mission. So it is not only about this session or more sessions coming up. If you have any queries, if you have any assistance or support that you require in terms of academics, in terms of activities, or any kind of support in terms of education, do let us know. We have a very hardworking and dedicated team working round the clock to make your requirements be met, and to ensure that you get all the things on time, despite the pandemic that has been taking our world upside down. So stay with us. Ratnasagar promises to make this experience more exciting, informative, and insightful for you. So thank you so much. Thanks a lot for joining us today.